One day, Gordon arrived at the end of the line to find a group of passengers looking glum. "They're supposed to be part of a rail tour," explained the station master, "but the engine has failed. Could you help?" "We'd be delighted," said the driver, "but you'll need to ask Sir Topham Hatt." Sir Topham Hatt agreed to spare Gordon so long as the other railway supplied a replacement. "There's a high-speed train we can lend you," said the yard manager. "Only one power car working, but it should be able to handle the job." That afternoon, James sat at the junction with a stopping train when what looked like a yellow and blue snake zoomed up the line. "Hello, goodbye." "What was that?" exclaimed James. He found out that evening from Bear. "They're the high-speed train covering for Gordon," he explained. "Their names are Pip and Emma. Pip's not working properly, so Emma's doing the work." "How did you find that out?" James demanded. "They're going too fast to speak to them." While Gordon was away, Pip and Emma zoomed up and down the line, never speaking to anyone and always looking like a blur as they went. The engines found it most startling. Even the little engines at the workstation had trouble speaking to them when they stopped. They always seemed to be in a hurry. "It's like they have nothing to say to us," grumbled James to the others that night. "They can't help it," soothed Boko. "It's how they were designed. They can reach speeds of up to 125 miles per hour." James snorted. "They ought to know there's such a thing as overdoing it." The next day, James brought his train to the station. The signalman ran up. "The high-speed train's failed," he said. "Go gently until you catch up to it, push it into the next loop, and then pull it home." "But what about the express passengers?" asked James. "They won't want to make our stops." "Better that than having your passengers miss theirs," replied the signalman. James found the failed train 2 miles ahead. One end, Pip, lit up when she saw him. "Hello, I'm Pip. Thank you so much for the help. It really does mean a lot to us. It's my fault, really. I've been broken down all week. Poor Emma really did her best, but I'm afraid it was just too much for her. Poor old girl. I really do think that she should try a little bit harder next time." James stared. The diesels even talked fast. He simply smiled politely as he pushed them to the loop. Then he ran round the train. Emma started talking at the same speed as Pip. "Thank you very much. You're very kind, poor Pip. She's really named Philippa, but she prefers Pip for short. She's been such a dear. Really couldn't do it without her, but we're not infallible. I'm very sorry I can't help. We're special lightweight coaches, though, so you shouldn't have too much to worry about." James didn't know what to make of it. He simply coupled up in front, and he pulled the strange train onwards. He had to admit the train ran smoothly, and he stopped at all his usual places. Then, to his relief, Pip and Emma began to slow down. "Goodness, what a lovely station," said Emma. "And the picturesque countryside," agreed Pip. "Funny how we didn't notice it before." "What a fine railway you have," they said together. James began to smile. Now that they'd slowed down, he found the two diesels very charming. At last they reached the top station, where Sir Topham Hatt waited. "I'm sorry we're late, sir," said James. "Never mind, James," he said. "You have saved an awkward situation. Now please take Pip and Emma back to the shed while I arrange their journey home." At first the other engines felt awkward. But once they got talking, they all soon became good friends. The next day, Gordon returned, and he took Pip and Emma's passengers home. James, meanwhile, took the diesels themselves. They watched as Gordon rocketed by. "Don't worry," said James. "Once you're mended, you'll give him a run for his money." "Thank you, James," said Emma. "You're very kind." And James took them home, feeling proud to be pulling a high-speed train.